So it's a pretty interesting story. I come from a place in the UK where a lot of people don't really leave that city. They stay there, and that's where they make their home, and that's where they make their life. And yet, I was sort of introduced to travel from a very young age. My parents, strove to take myself and my brother to different countries in Europe, and particularly to the US because we had family there. So it was just always my dream and goal to end up in the US. So when I took my law degree, I chose to go to East Anglia because I could spend a year in Houston, Texas, studying law with Americans at an American law school. And then once I did that, I realized I wanted to stay in the US and decided to take a master's degree at NYU and search for a job as much as possible in New York City, the Big Apple, which is where I really wanted to be. It was such a crazy time, Dr. Saida. It was, the partner who I worked a lot with said to me on the Friday before Lehman filed for bankruptcy on the Monday, the whole world will look different on Monday. And at the time, it just sounded like a really strange comment to say. But, a lot of people were having meetings and things were going on in the background that we didn't know about because I was a second year associate. So really junior at the time. And, wouldn't you know, we woke up on Monday morning and the world was a different place, a completely different place. And so then we all started doing, retooling and doing things that were completely different from what we'd previously been used to doing, which was largely, in my case, leveraged acquisition financings. And that market just disappeared overnight. And we had to retool to be restructuring lawyers, or one of the things I had to do was over a weekend assess 250 facility agreements for a client who wanted to see if they had any exposure to Lehman. So myself and a couple of other, junior lawyers, we hunkered down, read those agreements, and had to essentially advise really senior partners whether there was any exposure to Lehman for that client. And it was something we'd never done before. So, people were sleeping under their desks, not getting any sleep at all because the world was just crashing around us, basically. I completely agree. I think those are the kinds of experiences that you can't buy. It's just, you were just there at the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the right time. And, you really have to challenge yourself because you're taking yourself out of a comfort zone and learning something new. And it's really, it's at the forefront of what was happening in the world. What we were dealing with was the news. This was having a global effect. And when you're in the middle of it, you don't really realize the sort of gravity of the situation because you're just getting up and trying to work and, being set a task and following through with that task. But then later on, you kind of step back and look at it and think, we really were dealing with something enormous that no one had ever dealt with before. Yeah, it's an interesting story in that I had absolutely no interest in moving to the Middle East. I didn't know anything about the region. I knew nothing about, certainly not about the legal market. And my husband, originally being from the Middle East, secured a job in a law firm out here. And it was a decision. I was 8 years into my legal career in New York. I had a name and a reputation and a clear path. And then I followed my husband to the Middle East. But it was a little bit more than that, because once I spoke with the law firm Allen and Overy, who I ended up working for out here, they showed me that this was a dynamic jurisdiction. The Middle East is a place where you can do things that you can't do in other places. They're really at the forefront of certain advances in technology and in transport and all kinds of different sectors that, New York's fabulous and fascinating, but the legal market can be a little bit staid. You do the same transaction with the same documentation and you don't really change very much. But here it's sort of, they were saying it's a novel transaction. No one's ever structured anything like this before. You get to be in on the ground structuring something for the first time. And if you don't sort of grab that challenge and allow yourself to develop and grow, you're really missing out. And so I think that's what I've really enjoyed and learned about being here, is that there's so much you can learn from this jurisdiction, and so much that you can teach others. You can take your experience and then build on it, because the certainly the deals I've been lucky enough to be involved in over the last 6 years here in Dubai, I would just never have had the chance to be involved in elsewhere. It's tough. I don't think anybody can sit here and say it's not a difficult balancing act. Um, but I think you kind of have to find your groove, and that groove changes all the time, particularly as they grow older. So, I actually recently become a mother of my second child only 4 months ago. And so adding a second child into the dynamic is it just changes everything. You could previously sort of focus on my daughter, and that was fine, and then now you throw in my son, and it's kind of dual tracking, and really trying to make sure that they both get the attention that they need. And I think it's impossible to do that without supportive partners. My husband is a fantastic dad, very hands-on, and he's also a lawyer, so he has to juggle his life and work as well, which is not easy. But I think another thing that I've really found in the last couple of years, as my daughter got a little bit older, is I need to find things that are outside of family and work, and that helps to make me a much more productive person, both at home and in the office. If I didn't have outside interests, I would just not be the same person. I have to say that it was taking up singing actually again. I used to sing years and years ago, and then once I rediscovered it a couple of years ago, unfortunately now during the pandemic we haven't been able to really do that so much, but I got to sing at the Dubai Opera again, another phenomenal thing that this country affords you that you don't get in other places. I would never get to sing on the stage in New York City. But here I got to sing with a choir on the Dubai Opera stage twice, which is fantastic. Yeah, it's been difficult, but we tried to find a way so that my daughter can speak with her grandparents, my parents, pretty much every day. And what we do in the afternoons is we do a crossword across the miles, and my parents will send a picture of the crossword puzzle to us, and we set up the Zoom, or should I say my daughter sets up the Zoom and sends up the email to her grandparents, and then we sit and we do crossword clues with each other every afternoon, just to keep a fun connection. So it's more than just saying hello and how are you doing. It's doing something together, which we just wouldn't get the chance to do otherwise. Definitely, it's something that you never thought 10, 12 months ago we'd be doing every single day, and here we are talking on a computer to our families every day, just trying to find a way to be with each other. For me, it's take opportunities. I think, I've seen in my career so far that taking opportunities has really made a difference. And I think those opportunities can be big or small. So it can be moving 7,000 miles away to a jurisdiction you know nothing about and learning it from scratch, which is what I did halfway through my career. Or it can be, somebody in the business, let's say, says, can we just have a quick coffee? I'd like to catch up to get to know you better. Take that chance, because that person, you're building a relationship with them, you're getting to know them, and it just means that further down the line, you never know when you're going to be working with that person, or that person might need some help from you. And I think if you don't take those big and small opportunities, you don't know where your career can take you.